Buon pomeriggio a tutti, amici HBiani e amici webrootiani. Oggi facciamo una sessione di aggiornamento su una tecnologia che sono mesi, anni di cui se ne sente parlare, non si è mai visto nulla, sembrava una cosa mitologica e irraggiungibile. In realtà, nonostante, diciamo così, siamo tutti a lamentarci della mancanza di aggiornamenti, la situazione è molto più avanti del silenzio assoluto che c'è stato negli ultimi mesi. Grazie a Jamie e a Francis, ai quali ci darò la parola tra un secondo, la tecnologia di Script Shield è in grado di fermare le nuove minacce che ci stressano ogni giorno con script, PowerShell e quant'altro, file senza virus, virus, fileless, eccetera. Diciamo così, la situazione dal punto di vista tecnologico è più avanti del silenzio che sembra esserci, per cui noi abbiamo voluto organizzare questo incontro. Loro ci raccontano a che punto sono, cosa fanno, ci fanno una demo perché gli abbiamo mandato dei virus italiani, abbiamo chiesto fateci vedere se siete in grado di intercettarli col nuovo motore, con la nuova release, per cui volevamo diciamo così, essere tutti allineati sul fatto che, benché in questo preciso momento non sia disponibile per tutti questo motore, siamo veramente ai blocchi di partenza e lo vogliamo toccare con mano. So, Jamie and Francis, I did a very quick introduction in Italian for our MSPs, and now I would say that it's up to you. You can share your screen if you are able to get it on your own. Otherwise, I will make you host.
Thank you, Claudio.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, go ahead, Francis.
So, Jamie, do you want to go ahead and pop up the PowerPoint? I don't know if we'll finish it with the live demo or.
Yeah. Let's. I'll walk through some slides. Claudio, I think you do need to hand presenter to me. It shows an error when I try to request.
I see actually 3 Jamie. I will try to make one as the host. Yes.
Okay. I think if you just stop sharing your screen, then it will allow it, is what it says.
Stop share. There you go.
Perfect. Very good.
Okay, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us on this webinar today to talk about the Webroot Advanced Script Shield functionality. So first, I'll give a brief overview of myself, and Francis will introduce himself as well. And then we will kind of walk through what it is that we're developing, how it will help you, and how it will enhance the Webroot client. And then we'll actually give some screenshots and some visualizations of how it will work, as well as Francis will give a demo of actually showing the current agent that we have in development and how it will detect and block some of these scripts.
Jamie, this is Claudio. I have to kindly to ask you if you can speak a little bit slowly.
Yes.
Our Italian. Thank you so much. Very kind of you.
Perfect. Okay, so as I said, my name is Jamie Zajac. I run the product management team here for both Carbonite and Webroot for all of our endpoint solutions. So this covers our Webroot endpoint agent that you know, as well as I'm also responsible for the Carbonite endpoint solution. And really my focus is on making the product and continuing to make the product the best product available for MSPs. So we recognize that we need to continue to enhance our product, not only in terms of usability and management, but also in terms of detecting and responding to the changing threats that are happening in the world. And so, whether these are the scripts that we'll talk about today, or other things that we want to look into enhancements around with, RDP and other exploits, my goal is to rapidly develop these technologies within Webroot, to work with our partners to make sure that we get it right, that we're hitting on the key points that your customers are being threatened with today, and then making sure that we bring them to market in ways that you can easily consume them and manage them. So I took over the Webroot endpoint team about 3 months ago, and my focus at the moment is purely on making sure that we bring these solutions to market for you. So I'll also let Francis give a brief introduction of himself as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Jamie. Hi guys, my name is Fran Bork. As you can see, I am a sales engineer here at Webroot. But basically, one of the main reasons that I'm actually on this call is I worked with our threat research team for a long time, moving from our support team as well. So I have a good handle on many of the issues that you may have come across with the Script Shield. Yeah, so you may have seen me, speaking at events, and over in Italy this year as well. I attended an event there, and probably met many of you. But yeah, today I'm going to go through the live demo of what Script Shield will look like when it detects a threat there. So perfect. I'll let Jamie continue anyway and get right into this.
Okay, thank you. So the new capability that we've developed, we call it our Advanced Script Shield. And really the objective of this new feature is to be able to detect the threats that are coming in via scripts. So via non-executables, whether that be PowerShell, VB scripts, macros enabled in files, etc. And we cover this both in terms of file-based and also fileless scripts. So fileless scripts, could be things that people are, running in memory, are putting into run keys or registry keys, where there's no file actually sitting on disk. It's a kind of newer technique that some bad actors are utilizing. And so we've developed our Script Shield to not just look at specific, scripts on disk and detect them, but also to be able to detect and block these fileless scripts that are happening as well. So, the way that we're introducing this is this will be a new level of protection that's available in our agent. We do, as with kind of all of the different, threat capabilities that we bring to market, we look at how will an MSP utilize and manage this. And so we're also going to have, as part of this, we'll be extending our whitelist capability. So the existing functionality that you have in the console and in the agent to whitelist scripts, so that you can make sure that any script that you write and that you're running in your customers' environments, will not be detected. So this gives you extra protection against false positives happening. So you have control. And then we also know that it's important that you see what's happening in the customer's environments. So through the console, anytime a malicious script is detected, or if it's remediated, or if your policy doesn't allow for remediation and leads to an infection on the machine, we'll be able to flag these devices and flag these events and show them within the console. And finally, we at Webroot hold ourselves to a very high bar in terms of performance of the agent. We have a very lightweight agent. It really doesn't impact system performance or applications. And so we will continue to hold ourselves to this very high bar for performance, even as we introduce this new functionality as well. Okay, so let me walk you through how the Script Shield functionality will work. I have two parts of this presentation here. The first part will show you from an overall management perspective how this functionality will be integrated into the console, so how you'll be able to see it and manage it. And then the second part gets a little bit more technical, and we'll actually talk about what's happening in the agent and how we're actually detecting the malicious scripts versus the good scripts. So we'll cover both parts here today. So first, we'll talk about the console. There's 4 new components that are being added to the console as part of this release. And I'll walk through each one, including some screenshots of how they'll look and work for you. The first is the policy element. So you'll be able to control via your GSM policy whether the advanced script detection is enabled or disabled, and whether you want it to be operating in a report-only mode, which means we'll detect and tell you which scripts we think are malicious, but we won't block them, or if you want them to actually be remediated as well. Second, as I mentioned, you'll have the ability to create overrides. So you can whitelist any known good script that you're running. You'll also be able to have visibility into the scripts that are encountered. And then you'll be able to, from that list of where those scripts are detected, create a whitelist file from there, or if the file's been quarantined, remove it. So let me walk you through how each function will work. So the first thing that you'll notice is, as part of this script release, we'll also be making some other enhancements to the console. So the first thing you probably notice is that the colors and the look and feel and the UX is adjusted. So we have this new navigation on the left. All of the same functions are there, but we've tried to make things a little bit more modern looking, a little bit easier to manage. And also it sets our console up to be able to add additional products and capabilities more easily as well. So I won't focus on the new look and feel today, but if you do see it looks a little different, it's because we will be intending to release this new color scheme and new UX along with this script functionality. I also invite, if you have questions about the UX, or if you want to go into more depth after this webinar, you can contact Claudio and we can work with you, and we would be happy to show in more detail any of the content that we don't cover today. Okay, so first up is the policy element. So as you have available today, you can set different policies at the GSM level, apply them to different sites, groups, and devices, and we'll be extending that. So when you have a policy, there'll be a new element contained within here called, we'll call it Advanced Script Shield, and you'll have the option to enable or disable this. When you enable it, you'll have two different protection level modes that you can choose from. So the detect and report only mode will works very similar to, say, silent audit mode, where you can enable it. All of the machines will be running the script protection engine. Any malicious scripts that are detected will be reported to the console and will be visible to you. However, we won't block any scripts. So this is a mode that you can run in case you think of any false positives might be happening on your machines. You can run it, get that visibility into what's happening, and then later enable remediation. So the second mode is what we call detect and remediate. So for any devices that have a policy with detect and remediate, if we detect a malicious script, we will block it from running, so it won't cause any harm to the machine. And if it is a file-based script, so if there is a file sitting on disk, we will quarantine that file just as we would with any of our existing files that we quarantine. So that will prevent it from running or prevent any perhaps other script or scheduled task that's trying to call that file from executing it. So it will be quarantined and safely removed. And all of that is also going to be visible in the console as well, so you can see exactly what we've done to the file. The second feature is the ability to create overrides or whitelist. And so again, just as you can do this with existing executables, perhaps you have some internally developed software and you want to create a whitelist for it, you'll be able to also create whitelists for script files. So script files are based on the file or folder where they live, including the file mask. So in this case, if you have a particular location where you keep your internal files or internal scripts, you'll be able to create that whitelist for them, and we won't apply any of our detection or remediation logic to those files and folders. So you must be cautious, of course, with creating whitelists and overrides, as it does create an area where if any malicious file is located, it will not be detected. But this is also your capability for making sure that any scripts that you write and run or that your customers are running will not cause any false positives. So I invite you to use this as required. The third new capability in the console is the visibility into what's happening. So the first thing you'll see on the device tab over on the right, where we list all of our Shield statuses today, is we will be adding the new option for the Script Shield. And so this gives you easy visibility into knowing whether Script Shield is enabled on a device or not. Of course, you can always see which policy is assigned to your devices, and you set up script as part of that policy. But the Shield status provides a bit more detail in that it actually confirms that that device has received and applied that policy and enabled the Script Shield component. So the two elements together, the policy that you defined and the Shield status, make sure that you know exactly what's happening with the device in the field. So in a few moments, I'll talk to you about how the agent is actually detecting and blocking and remediating the scripts. But this section here shows, once we have done those detections, how we show it in the console. So today we have our threats detected tab, or I believe it's called threats encountered today. And we'll be amending this to have a new table, which will list all of the script detections. So you'll see for every detection event that happens, the name of the script, the file path where that script was run from. Of course, if it's a fileless script and there is no path, then we would just indicate that as such. We'll also tell you how we detected this. So we have two modes of detection. We have a static detection, which is based on a scan, one of our regularly scheduled scans or a scan that you execute ad hoc. But we also have our runtime detections, where when that script is run, we're able to detect in real time. Both of these events are shown here in this table. And then we'll give you some visibility into what type of script it was and what action we took. So the action could be simply that we detected it, or it could be that we blocked and remediated that file as well. So this gives you a very quick look and sorting capability as well to see what exactly has happened with this script and do you need to do anything with it. In the case that a malicious script is detected and your policy is such that it's allowed to run on that machine, so if your policy is in silent audit, in this case, if we'll actually flip the device to the quote needs attention state, and it will be flagged as red. So now you'll see very visible up front that there's something bad on this machine and that you need to go take action. The final thing that you can do from the threats detected tab is for a given script, you can choose to whitelist it. So in case you see in this example, the script called bad script, maybe this was one that you had written, you'd be able to whitelist it straight away and not have to go recreate the path name in a separate user interface. And in the case that the script was blocked and remediated and placed into quarantine by Webroot, you also see the option here to restore that from the quarantine. And this will send an agent command down to the agent, which will restore that script back to its original location and create a whitelist for it as well. So these are the options that you have. We think that this gives you the overall visibility into what's happening on the machine, what actions you need to take, if any, if a machine is infected, as well as the ability to manage how you want Script Shield applied to certain machines, whether this is something you turn on for everybody or whether this is something you want to slow roll out to your customers. These options are up to you. Finally, we don't have it shown here, but we'll also be enhancing the reporting tab to kind of extend the same capabilities that we have for our other shields and our other detection reports to include scripts as well. So where you see a threats detected report that you can do across one site or many sites, you'll be able to also do a report for script detections. And similarly, as you can run a report for the Script Shield status across one site or many sites, you'll be able to run this report for the advanced Script Shield as well. So that's not shown here today, but we will be adding that to reporting as well. Okay, there are a few other management capabilities on the agent. So I think for many of you, you probably do most of your management in the console, but in case you're using the agent locally on any machines or in an unmanaged mode, or perhaps for any local troubleshooting that you need to do, there is some visibility in the agent as well. So, anytime a detection happens, you will see that get flagged in the agent, and Fran will show this momentarily. but also you have the ability to create a whitelist locally on the machine. So this can be very useful in the scenario where you're running some script that you've developed, you're troubleshooting on the machine why it's not quite working as you expect, and if you enable the UI on that machine and you allow the whitelisting to happen, then you'll be able to do that from the agent. Simply select the script and it will be stored. So again, just a little bit more management that you can do in the agent for the scenarios where you're running locally. Okay, so now I'll take a few minutes and I'll walk you through a little bit more of the technical details of how we are actually doing our script detection. So the Advanced Script Shield engine has a few components that run on the machine. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a static detection capability. So this is hooked into each scan that we run. So whether you have a scheduled scan running maybe once a day, or if you click the Scan Now button in the console or in the agent and initiate an on-demand scan. Anytime our scan runs, as we traverse through the different folders on disk, we'll be looking for any malicious scripts that exist. So what we're doing is we're essentially parsing through those scripts, understanding what behaviors those scripts are going to execute if they were to be run, and then making a determination as to whether the behaviors in that script indicate it to be malicious or not. If, based on this static scan and looking at the text of the script, we determine that it has malicious behaviors and your policy allows, then we will go ahead and remediate by quarantining that particular script file. So this could be PowerShell scripts, VBS scripts, macro-enabled files that are calling other scripts, JavaScript or other files as well. But one of the things that is quite common with malicious scripts, especially, is that they don't always just sit on disk with all of their malicious behaviors well documented in text. Many times malicious scripts are encrypted or highly obfuscated so that the behaviors of them are not readily apparent to anyone looking at them. They may be minimized and such, or minified, so that it's very difficult to understand what they do. So in the case that our static detection cannot determine a file as malicious, this is where our real-time protection comes in. And so what we do is that when a script runs, we use a Windows AMC interface, anti-malware scripting interface, which essentially takes a script and fundamentally, even if you obfuscate and encrypt and try to make a script very, very complex to avoid detection, before it can be executed at some level, it must be de-obfuscated, de-encrypted, and run through the actual scripting engine of the OS. And so our Webroot agent is able to hook into that interface. And what it does is that post encryption and de-obfuscation, it looks at different chunks of the individual files, or individual script commands, I should say, as there's not always a file behind it. And in this case, we look at each of those script chunks that are trying to run, and we're able to apply logic at that time to determine whether that chunk of a file and whether that script behavior is malicious or not. So we kind of emulate the script behavior to look for these malicious patterns. As we're looking into that script, if we detect that malicious behavior and file, then we're able to send a command up the chain in the OS to block that. So once we block it, if there is a file behind it, then we're also able to traverse and parse where that file lives on disk, identify the file, and move it to the quarantine location. And as this is happening, we're sending all of the reports of these behaviors up to the console as well. So if you kind of put this chain together, what's really happening in a real-time script detection is that the script is run, whether it has a file behind it or whether it's just a file list, perhaps a command in PowerShell or triggered by a run key or a malicious macro. We break down scripts into individual chunks. We, through AMC, deobfuscate and decrypt them to get those. We can then emulate and understand the behaviors of that script and understand if it's a malicious behavior or not. We confirm that the file is not whitelisted by you. If you've created a whitelist, then we would omit this behavior checking. And if we've detected a malicious behavior, we walk the chain through the OS, through different APIs at the operating system level to identify the file on disk, to block it from running, to kill that process, and then also to move that file into quarantine and then report everything there. So there's a lot of small components that are happening here. And the reason for this being to try to provide the best logic for detecting as many malicious scripts as possible while still making sure that legitimate scripts are allowed to run within your customer's environment. Okay, so I hope that that gives you an overview and an understanding of both how our agent technology works for detection and remediation, as well as how we provide the management capabilities in the console for whitelisting and the visibility into what's happening. So now I'll invite Fran, and he will give you an actual demonstration of how this works in our agent right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think if I stop sharing, then you should be able to, Fran.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Okay, so at the moment I am remotely logged into a machine that has our script shield. As you can see here, it is still a beta version. So basically what I'm going to go through is just showing when I put a live PowerShell script into this, basically what the Webroot GUI is going to do. So at the moment we've kind of gone through it. Everything is looking good. If I basically go into our demo script folder here, I have a worm here. Okay, so once I select that worm, I can actually scan this worm with Webroot. Let everything run there. Small bit slow. And now that we're remotely logged in, there we go. So basically what Webroot has done, it's after detecting that this basically was a malicious worm, it turns red. Okay, so what it's doing at the moment is it's giving us the information of the infection, and it's auto remediating straight away. Now this information basically will go through the scan, and basically we will remove this from the machine itself. Once the scan is done, basically what we're doing during the scan is checking to see if anything was dropped by this. So if any PE files were followed up, you know, like the likes of emotet that would drop other PE files using a malicious macro, that's what we're following up with our scan to ensure that everything is clean here. Okay, so what we're looking for then is, if I go to my PC security tab, we have quarantined this file. Okay, so that file will sit in the quarantine, and we can remove it completely. We also have the option to restore it, and as Jamie said a little bit earlier, we have the option then to whitelist from the GUI as well. So if this is something that, you know, we see as, or that a client or yourself you see as a false positive, you can go in and remediate it straight away within the GUI. You do not have to go to the console. Another thing we want to check then, once everything is done, is our log. So this is a log of the infected machine. So if we go to the bottom of our log, we can see that the script had been detected and it was blocked in real time. So basically what that meant is before it actually got off the ground, before it actually got to do anything, we have blocked it in real time. So that's the general consensus of what this product will do. We do have a database as well, which I've just seen today, that is being built up of malicious scripts, of scripts behaviors. So basically when a script passes through, we can check it against that database. Much like we do for our PE files, we use a database called Enzo, which is our threat database for the executable files. And we basically check everything against that, against the policy, against our behavior database. And that's exactly how our script shield will work on a machine. So it is a short demo, but it is exactly what you're going to see with this beta at the moment. It's going to basically clean up straight away. And we are still through the scan, but basically once that goes through, we will go back green again, and we'll be good to go.
Thanks, Fran. I think one other thing I want to make sure is clear is unlike PE and executable files where our database can understand the hash of a file, with scripts it's not sufficient to simply look at a hash, because you can simply change the signature of it, you can change some variable names, you can change just an order of execution, and the hash of a script would be very different. So in this case, this is why we've built this more behavioral-based detection algorithm, so that even if you make subtle changes to a script, we're still able to break it down to that basic component of what it's trying to do, and then apply our logic at that level to detect and remediate. And it looks like your demo is complete. It's back to green.
Perfect. Yes, back to green. It gives us the overall information. I can save a scan log again and check what went on, and we're good to go again. The script would have been removed.
Thank goodness it was removed.
All gone.
We have some questions for you. At first, I will say the question in Italian, and then I can translate in English. La prima domanda che mi era stata fatta era se il meccanismo di intercettazione che loro dicono che emulano gli script è una vera sandbox oppure un meccanismo proprietario. The very first question that I got is, you told that you try to emulate at runtime the script to see if the script is malicious or not. And can we call this a sort of sandboxing, or it's just a proprietary solution to understand how the script behaves?
Yeah, so around a sandbox, we don't provide a very native sandbox where you can run and emulate the script in a, say, safe environment. What we can do, and this will apply our static detection, is, as Fran showed, you can right-click on the file and say scan with Webroot. But in this case, if it's obfuscated or encrypted and we can't read it, then there won't be any detection we can apply at that time. So in this case, it would need to depend on the real-time detection. And we're relying on the Windows AMSI interfaces to do that deobfuscation. So we're not going to be sandboxing it ourselves in the emulation mode. We're leveraging the Windows capability for that. If that's a functionality that you would like to see brought to the product, more of a sandbox test of behaviors, then that would be interesting feedback to know from you for sure, as we look to evolve this going forward.
Ok. Un'altra domanda che è stata fatta è se dalla console si può impedire all'utente finale di whitelistarsi da solo gli script. So one more question is, if is it possible from the console to disable the user capability to whitelist the script?
So the console does have a few different roles. And so you can give a user in the console a privilege of, say, read only, and they wouldn't be able to whitelist scripts. They wouldn't be able to do other actions as well. So you can't, at the moment, limit it to just preventing overrides, but you can restrict to read only versus admin functions. And then for the end user in the agent, this can be restricted. As many different things in the agent UI can be restricted for users quite easily.
Okay. Then some questions are coming to flow in my chat box. Another question is about if you have in ETA, if you have a release date for this functionality, quando sarà disponibile, se esiste già una data, if a date is available or not.
Yes, I was waiting for somebody to ask this, of course.
Of course.
So thank you. So at this time, we are just starting kind of a closed or a private beta for this. And we'll see after a few weeks or so of running this throughout, the end of the year and into January, then we'll be reassessing what timing we can bring this to market. So at this time, we want to get through some of this real world scenarios and make sure that we have the solution just right, that we're detecting the right scripts and that we're not detecting false positives before we bring it to market. So I would expect perhaps we can give a better update on this maybe around end of January. But at this time, we don't yet have a final release date that we can share. Though you can see the progress that we've made in the live demo, as well as in the presentation, to show that this is not just an idea, that this is something that's moving into beta and coming to fruition as quickly as possible.
Ok, thank you. Quindi diciamo così, non hanno ancora una data definitiva, ma è già partito un programma di private beta. Private vuol dire che i clienti da includere nella beta vengono scelti col lanternino. Qualcuno di quelli italiani è stato già incluso, così come alcuni americani, alcuni inglesi. E diciamo così, mentre va avanti nelle prossime 2 o 3 settimane in questa fase di beta privata, cercano di capire quanto vicini sono al rilascio. Per cui non si sbilancia a dire che mancano 3 settimane o che si deve arrivare alla fine di gennaio, ma insomma siamo in una beta, ma il prodotto esiste, ecco, quindi non sarà più una roba di mesi o anni. We have some more questions. Jamie, can you detect and block the scripts only at runtime, or are you able to detect even if they are attached to an email message, so to speak?
So we do have both a static and a real-time detection. So the static detection is based on the scan, and it's looking at the scripts. So in the case of a mail message, I think you would have to download and save the attachment first. The email itself, the EML file on disk, I don't think would cause a detection. However, so this is kind of also our backup to AMSI being bypassed, is using this static detection. I see this is one other question from Andrea. So we do have the static detection to try to pick up on those scenarios. There are some limitations there, such as I mentioned, if it's obfuscated or encrypted, then at times the static detection might not pick up on it, might not be possible. And that's then where the real-time execution of that would be relied on for the detection.
Okay, thank you. Let me translate for the Italian MSPs. Dunque, la domanda era di Matteo, che chiedeva se gli script vengono bloccati solo durante l'esecuzione oppure è in grado di identificarli staticamente, per esempio dentro un'email. Dunque, dentro un'email direttamente no, nel senso che Webroot fa la scansione non della posta elettronica, ma solo di ciò che va in esecuzione oppure di ciò che è su disco. E in maniera particolare può fare la scansione di ciò che è su disco, ma alcuni script, e qui rispondo anche ad Alto, sono offuscati, ve ne sarete accorti anche voi, cioè non sono leggibili in formato italiano perché sono criptati e codificati, e quindi questi, anche se li fai la scansione a mano, non vedi niente, per cui bisogna aspettare che vadano in esecuzione, vengono intercettati tipo una sandbox, anche se ha detto chiaramente che non c'è una sandbox sul sistema, emulano il comportamento di quello che farebbe lo script interpretando le istruzioni e a quel punto eventualmente decidono di bloccarlo. We have a question from Andrea. What about the AMCI bypass technique?
Yeah, so in the...
I don't know what we are talking about, so...
So AMSI, I think it's Windows called anti-malware scripting interface. This is part of the Windows technology stack on Windows 10 that we rely on for breaking down the script into those deobfuscated chunks that we can then look at. So our real-time detection on Windows 10 does rely on AMC being enabled. So this, if this is disabled, then the AMC detection, or excuse me, the real-time detection would also be disabled in our product. I do definitely, as we enter this beta, look for input from you all on AMC being disabled and how prevalent you see this being amongst your customers. This is something we can certainly continue to iterate on and find other techniques. As today we do utilize that component. So if it's something that you find is a big problem still, we would definitely like to know to incorporate that.
Ok, one more question. Viene chiesto se questa funzionalità esiste solo su Windows o anche su Mac, per esempio. Is the Script Shield available only on Windows operating system or also on Mac OS?
Yes, so this new capability is Windows specific. Our existing Mac agent does already have some capabilities for looking at a kind of a basic level at some malicious scripts or Apple script and such running on Mac. But the new capability that we're bringing out here is focused on Windows. That's where we find, you know, most, maybe more than 90% of most computers. So we want to close the gap there on Windows as our top priority.
Ok, quindi per il momento sicuramente è su Windows perché è la priorità assoluta, poi si vedrà sul Mac. C'è Giovanni che chiede se cosa succede con Webroot quando introdurremo questa funzionalità, se c'è già qualche virus di tipo i task schedulati, se bisogna attendere che vadano in esecuzione oppure che cosa bisogna fare. So the question is, what happens if we will release the Script Shield with a Webroot agent on a PC that is somehow already infected? I mean, maybe this PC has already scheduled some task in the task scheduler of Windows, or there are already some registry keys compromised and so on. Have we to attend that, to wait for the script to run, or will Webroot do a deep scan of such components like the task scheduler and the registry keys?
Yep, so what Webroot will do in this case, if it's installed on a machine that's already infected, either a regular scan, or if you trigger a scan, we'll try to detect the script files on disk and we can remediate them. So let's say you have a scheduled task that's calling a malicious script living in the temp directory. If we scan the temp directory and we find the malicious script, we will remove it. What we don't currently do is go and remove the scheduled task as well. So now that scheduled task can no longer call this malicious file on disk because that file has been quarantined. But we don't remove the registry key or the scheduled task at this time. This is something that we look to add deeper remediation of those components in one of our next phases, but not in the first phase. What we can do low is also, if you have a registry key, it might not have a file on disk. It might have the malicious script even within the registry key itself. And so in this case, in real time when that's run, then we would detect that and block it from executing. But again, the remediation at the moment is focused on scripts that contain a file on disk. So we're remediating the reg key or the scheduled task or such would be in a subsequent phase that we introduce.
Ok, thank you. Quindi la domanda era che cosa succede se mettiamo Webroot nuovo, diciamo così, nella nuova versione che arriverà su un sistema dove c'è già il task scheduler che richiama degli script, o se nel registro di Windows ci sono richiamati gli script. Allora diciamo che quello che farà Webroot è di intercettare gli script a runtime, perché almeno in questa prima fase non si sognano di andare a modificare il task scheduler di Windows o di modificare il registro, non posso biasimarli, ma faranno in modo che bloccando lo script le cose diciamo così, non vadano in esecuzione, mentre in una fase successiva, quando viene arginata, diciamo così, l'ondata di virus, cercheranno di fare una nuova versione in cui possa andare a fare qualche lavoro più avanzato. Poi mi viene chiesto da Carlo se vengono intercettati anche gli script in Python, visto che lui ha avuto diversi problemi. Will you also detect the scripts coded in Python, since some customer of ours got infections with these programming languages?
So Python itself is not currently included. This is something we have to look to add subsequently. This is not included in the first phase. There are some Python scripts that will call other PowerShell or execute such in memory. In this case, those behaviors would be detected, but not a native Python script currently.
Ok, thank you. Quindi diciamo così, in questa prima release il Python diretto non è incluso, ma dicono loro è difficile che il Python da solo faccia danni, generalmente richiama un componente di sistema, tipicamente PowerShell, e allora in quel caso dovremmo andare a intercettarlo. Quindi probabilmente il Python diretto verrà incluso in altre, l'analisi del Python verrà inclusa in altre release. Dunque. Let me double check. Fabio, tu fai una domanda sui client che non ricevono comandi dalla console, ma non so di cosa parli, se puoi riformulare per favore. Se qualcun altro ha qualche domanda nel frattempo, mentre Fabio riformula la sua. Jamie, are you going to do a sort of public beta release sooner or later?
So at the moment, we have to assess after our private beta, and then we'll determine if we need more information from a larger source, then we would open this up, or if we move straight to general availability. So at the moment, this is not planned, but it's possible that we introduce this if necessary, based on our initial learnings.
Okay. There is an interesting question from Joseph, which is the impact of Script Shield on the performance of the PC? Because if you have to detect and try to emulate each and every script, well, what can you say about the performance?
Yeah, so the way we've developed this in our testing, the performance falls within our guidelines, which is being very minimal impact on the system. This is something we need more information in our beta. So we developed it in mind to be very, very lightweight. So the agent size is still very small. The detection logic is very fast and doesn't, cause system delays. And this is a core principle of Webroot in general. And then certainly, if any, this is something we need a little bit more real world validation on as well to make sure that we've got it just right, or see if any further optimizations are required. But at the moment in our testing, we've found really no measurable or distinguishable impact on performance on the system to date.
There is a generic sentence from a customer that they have hundreds of installation, but recently Webroot looks like not so effective as other antivirus. What can you say about this?
So I think, our job here at Webroot is to remain on top of what threats people are encountering in the real world. And our bringing of Script Shield to market and, my focus of moving this as quickly as possible, while still making sure that we maintain our principles of easy to manage, good performance, and all these things for you. We bring the Script Shield to market very quickly so that we can make sure that we stay up to date with what's happening in the real world. So certainly if there are, anything going on with executable files today or PEs, we want to know about that as quickly as possible so that our threat research team can look into those. We can make sure that we block them, from happening. And then on anything that's coming in via a script, fileless or file-based, I think we are trying to just bring this to market as quickly as possible while still making it easy to use for you to cover those. And I think that, a lot of threats come in different ways, and we try to make sure that we can block the ones that are most prevalent and the ones that are causing the most damage while still not impacting system performance and usability as well.
Ok, thank you. Quindi Roberto, sicuramente il mercato degli antivirus è grande e vario e sicuramente devono colmare un gap soprattutto sulla parte fileless e script, ma loro ritengono con questo nuovo grande aggiornamento, questo grande piccolo dal punto di vista dell'impatto aggiornamento, ma che avrà un ottimo risultato, di portarsi nuovamente a un livello di eccellenza. Quello che io posso dire, potete tranquillamente non credermi ovviamente perché non ho da difendere in nessuna maniera Webroot se non torna agli altri livelli. Quest'anno ho veramente un po' girato il mondo e ho parlato con persone che fanno il vostro lavoro di ogni nazione e paese e ho intervistato un po' di gente che usa Trend Micro, Webroot, Malwarebytes, tutto quello che volete, non ce n'è uno che è immune. Qualunque antivirus è stato bucato. Ciò premesso, sono d'accordo che non vedo l'ora che arrivi questa funzionalità di Webroot. Fabio chiede se vengono anche bloccati gli script per lanciare comandi DOS. Do you also detect, analyze, and eventually block script for doing maintenance on the operating system, like command with DOS command like robocopy and so on?
Yeah, so our behavior engine is designed to try to only pick up on malicious behaviors. So it depends, I think, what you're running in those commands. Robocopy, for example, by itself is not malicious, but there are some obscure ways trying to bypass, certain policies in PowerShell that are more malicious, and there are kind of really obscure ways that people try to, go undetected into what these scripts are doing and how they might exfiltrate data or download other items. So what we kind of developed is, we're not blocking every single script from running, right? If our goal was to just block all script executions, then this would be very easy to do. But the kind of intelligence that we've developed in our solution is to allow these scripts to run that have normal behaviors, right, that you're doing for running your own operation, for executing things on your computer, for automating, administration, but differentiate those normal behaviors from what we think is malicious, and just block those malicious ones. So we don't list, a case of here's every single behavior that we consider malicious, because this also opens the door too easily for attackers to know exactly how to bypass our system. But this is something we constantly iterate on, looking at malicious script patterns and adding that to our detection logic, while making sure that common administrative tasks are not blocked. So the intent is not that every single script you develop, you must whitelist. This is not a requirement. If it's a normal script that we think is running normally and not trying to be malicious, we would allow it to run. And you only need to go whitelist it, that script, in the case that we think it's actually doing something malicious. So, you can always test this out and try on 1 or 2 machines, of course, before you launch a script across your entire environment. But we try to differentiate between those 2 types of regular maintenance scripts and malicious scripts through what we're looking at. It's not an all or nothing script blocking.
Ok, thank you. Quindi Fabio, le operazioni di manutenzione della macchina normalmente dovrebbero passare come script buoni, diciamo così. Quello che cerca di fare il sistema è di fermare ovviamente solo le cose negative. Per questo motivo in particolare, se hai questo timore, e timore fondato, ti consiglierei le prime ore di far girare queste policy, quando saranno disponibili, in modalità read-only, in maniera tale che ti fanno il report di quello che lui bloccherebbe e uno capisce subito cosa va whitelistato o meno, perché l'idea che non è che venga whitelistato tutto. Dunque, più di una domanda mi è stata chiesta se questa funzionalità qua modificherà i prezzi. No, non siamo al corrente di nulla del genere. È una funzionalità per migliorare le capacità di Webroot. Are you going to introduce Script Shield also for Android device or something like this for mobile?
So yeah, at this time we don't have plans for this on mobile.
Okay.
It's focused on Windows. Yeah.
And do you think that the whitelisting, the script whitelisting would be done from the console for all the endpoints?
Yes, the scripts can be whitelisted in the console and then applied to all.
Okay.
All
Quindi
devices.
Matteo, puoi whitelistare tutto quello che ti serve direttamente dalla console, come se fosse un normale whitelisting di file. Anche una considerazione di Giovanni che speriamo che Webroot faccia come all'inizio, cioè lo metti su una macchina compromessa e ti ripulisce tutto. Beh, io vi posso già dire che con qualche cliente italiano che è stato scelto per il beta testing, io ho già visto dei report in cui gli hanno segnalato che ci sono delle macchine che apparentemente stanno andando bene, ma sono già compromesse, per cui diciamo così ci sono buone probabilità che questo avvenga, che anche se lo installi su una macchina che già ha qualcosa di nascosto e di dormiente, lui lo intercetti. Ok. Risposta veloce per Luca Giuffre, non dubitare mai della mia parola. No, sto scherzando, ma ci sentiamo offline. Bene, già un'oretta che siamo in linea, non vedo altre domande. So we have already spent an hour and we would like to thank you for your time, both Fran and Jamie. And we really appreciate your time and we hope to see the Script Shield on production very soon.
Yes, and thank you all for joining and for the good questions as well. The engagement is appreciated.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, thank you very much. We in Italy are saying Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you. And let's keep in touch.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Speak live. Bye bye.
Grazie mille ragazzi per essere rimasti un'ora con noi, quindi le novità stanno arrivando, come detto c'è già qualche cliente sparso per il mondo, inclusa Italia, che è stato coinvolto, quindi il prodotto non è un affare della demo, ma il prodotto esiste. Non so se e quando faranno una beta pubblica, da un certo punto di vista mi verrebbe voglia di dire che spero che non la facciano, vuol dire che il prodotto è così avanti da non richiedere altri test e altri dati. Io vi segnalo che ci sono molti modi al momento per mitigare gli attacchi che arrivano, ricordandovi sempre che non esiste un solo strumento perfetto, ma è l'insieme di tutti gli strumenti, a partire dall'anti-spam, dal firewall, l'antivirus, la formazione degli utenti, blindare gli utenti di sistema, eccetera, gli utenti con permission di sistema. È necessario mettere in atto tutte queste cose contemporaneamente per abbassare il rischio. Vi ringrazio nuovamente per essere stati con noi. HAB non scompare, sempre disponibile allo 02 54 10 82 04. Spero che abbiate apprezzato questa novità che sta veramente arrivando, anche se apparentemente, diciamo così, non c'erano notizie ufficiali su una cosa del genere. Grazie a tutti e alla prossima, arrivederci.